Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of Doctor Who, The Visitation, the special edition version of the DVD. I did for a long time have the sort of standard edition, but I, like last Christmas or the Christmas before, I'm pretty sure I got this for said Christmas, fortunately. With the sort of special edition DVD releases, there's obviously one, more bonus content, two, usually 9 times out of 10 much better cover art as well, and that's two fairly decent reasons to get it, really, but then again you could argue now with the Blu-ray releases these are kind of a little bit more obsolete. They're kind of like a little bit of a sort of go-between. But yeah, first of all I'll be going over the packaging of this release and then going over my overall thoughts about the story. So we have Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor, obviously centre stage in the middle. We have Tegan and the Android and a Pteroleptil, 2-disc set, PG, the Peter Davison years 1982 to 1984. Doctor Who, The Visitation Special Edition, the BBC logo, which is kind of like the new BBC logo. Then on the spine you have Doctor Who, The Visitation Special Edition, Peter Davison there in the little thing, PG in the little circle of doom, PG, BBC, and then on the back you've got your row of screenshots from the episode, as well as a synopsis, all the special features and whatnot, and then on the inside you've got 2 discs with nice artwork, as well as writer's notes and other bits and pieces there. And I have to say I really do like the cover on this release, as opposed to just the sort of standard one. Standard DVD release cover was a bit naff, really. But yeah, overall I really like this story. It's a fun sort of pseudo-historical. I think this one is before Black Orchid, but I wonder if part of me always feels like questions why they put The Visitation and Black Orchid put side by side, because one is a historical but with aliens, the other is a historical without aliens. But I think that's because maybe back then they were testing the waters to see which one gets more viewing figures, and then moving forward we'll just go with that one, as opposed to having both sort of historicals but with aliens and then pure historicals. So, and I guess obviously Black Orchid got lower views and or viewing figures than Visitation. I assume maybe that's why they did it, because it does seem a little bit odd that you've got a 4-part story which is essentially a historical with some aliens, and then next week I'm pretty sure you've got a 2-parter with just it being a pure historical without any aliens. So yeah, it seems a little bit odd personally. This is apparently Peter Davison's second episode that he filmed as the Doctor after doing Fort of Doomsday, and honestly, considering that, no pun intended, but I think he hits the ground running or whatnot, or hits that cricket ball out of the park, as it were, or out of the whatever the hell the cricket metaphor here that I'm trying to scramble together would be. He's quite. I hesitate to say he's abrasive, but he's quite tetchy, quite quickly irritated, and the companions kind of get under his skin. I really like Nyssa, and I really love the Highwayman sort of character. He was great. I'm not too fond of Adric and Tegan in this, but it is what it is. But fortunately there are 2 other characters that I do like, so, as well as I say, the Doctor, he's kind of just, he seems a lot more sort of, for lack of a better term, like bouncier, and energetic and renewed with a new lease of life, probably I could imagine if you were a kid watching the sort of latter end and season 18 of Tom, and then you watched into the Peter Davison years, this must have been very different for you to get your head around, because here you have an actor who kind of comes across as though they want to be there, whereas obviously fundamentally Tom Baker didn't, by season 18 anyway. You've also got, this one's rather weird because it sort of starts out without the TARDIS team, which I quite like because it adds a level of sort of uniqueness to the story, as well as it feels like had the TARDIS not landed here, this adventure could have kind of still gone on, if that makes sense. Like, it makes it feel more grounded in some level of realism, I guess. And yeah, it just sort of sets the tone and the atmosphere and that sort of without relying on just the TARDIS crew. And it kind of shows in that respect that Eric Saywood, I was about to say Eric Robertson, Eric Saywood is a really good, sort of writer and that, or a strong writer. Maybe not, top tier Doctor Who writer of all time, but he's a strong writer. Directed by Peter Moffat, and it's well directed. The music's quite interesting and unique as well. And I quite like the fact that they did shoot on location in a forest, but it was over a sort of air traffic sort of area, so there were planes going by, so it was actually quite difficult for them to film. But they did that because it was within a certain mile radius of the BBC studios, so apparently they could get away with not having to pay for shooting overnights, apparently, and that, or something to that effect. The pteroleptals in this story look great. I love the design of them. Considering they're more of an aquatic sort of costume / design of an alien, I would have thought you'd have more sort of stuff to do with water or stuff like in Sea Devils or Silurian sort of episodes. And I'll be honest, a testament to how well they're designed and sort of the backstory as well of them, I'm surprised they haven't come back in the new series. I wouldn't say that A tier, like Cybermen or Daleks or the Master, but I wouldn't even say the B tier, like say the Ice Warriors, Sea Devils, or Ice Warriors and Zygons and Macra and stuff. Or maybe, yeah, like they're kind of like C tier maybe, but like even so, I think there's still quite a lot of potential for the pteroleptals, in my opinion. Like, and even now as a 22-year-old of this recording, watching this with the bit where he's not got an eye sort of thing, that kind of makes me uncomfortable, and the idea that, because when I first watched this, I'm pretty sure, like most people, I just assumed he got that scar, or that, the removal of the eye / the scar down that side of his face via the crash, but it's, spoiler alert for the episode, but it's later said that he obviously gets it via being in prison. So, and one thing that I thought was really unique about the story is that it's one of the few stories in Classic Who that I can think of, and Tennant or Russell T Davies sort of era Doctor Who did this all the time, where he says, oh no, it's okay, I could find an uninhabited world and you could live there. You don't have to. Killing isn't the only option. Tennant or the Russell T Davies era sort of did that a lot. Like, it felt like every other couple of weeks or every other subsequent week, he was like, "Oh no, it's okay, Daleks. You can relocate and rehome on this, planet that's not inhabitable or inhabited even, and that, But here, it's one of the first times that I can think of the Doctor might have said that to an alien, or maybe they have previously, but it's so few and far between in the classic series, it feels like, that happens. The android is what it is. It's this weird sparkly glitter ball of an android. It is a bit peculiar, the design, in my opinion, and very much contrasts the pteroleptals a lot, which I don't know if I like. This is the quite infamous story for destroying the sonic screwdriver, the sort of get out of jail free card sort of thing. I think John Nathan Turner was quite vocal at this point that he wanted that gone, so that writers really had to come up with more imaginative ways to sort of get out of situations when locking up the Doctor or companions or whatever, and that. And I think this is definitely one of the stronger episodes in season 19. I mean, the only two episodes that I'm missing of this season are Kinder, which I have seen but years and years ago on the Horror Channel, and Time Flight, which I still haven't seen, but as I say, it's the last episode of season 19 if I'm not wrong, and they're the only two that I'm missing. But yeah, it's a sort of pseudo historical, and by that I mean more like in the modern series sense. Like it's got aliens obviously with the pterodactyl, but it's set in the past in sort of the period of time where the plague was a thing, and that yeah, I genuinely think pacing wise this could be almost a new series episode. I think yeah, sure you'd have to sort of edit bits and pieces here and there out, but it's quite interesting how like this episode, much like a Whittaker episode, has three companions, you know, two of which I'm not too keen on, but then again there's the supporting cast character of the Highwayman, which I adore him as a one-off sort of character. He is very charismatic, very charming, very quick-witted and just funny, and sort of plays off Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor really well, and that. I'm not quite sure why the Doctor is quite, sort of snappy at the companions in this story. I don't feel like that's particularly clear. Music's really good. As I say, the direction's pretty cool, pretty decent, and that for the sort of story. The set designs are good. You know, the alien spaceship looks good. The lighting effects of like having it all green on screen when you're in the baddie's place, or all red at the end, and that. And the ending is really interesting, and that sort of. If you're a big history buff, I think Clever Dick Films, I think his name is Doctor Who YouTuber who does these amazing documentaries. He's a big fan of this story, and yeah, it's definitely one of the more standout Peter Davison stories in my mind. When I think if someone said to me what a good Peter Davison / Fifth Doctor stories, this definitely jumps out to me. You know, this and like Earthshock and that. Which both are written by Eric Saward, so you know, yeah. And he was the sort of script editor during this time, I'm pretty sure. After pitching this episode, he got the gig as I say, a script editor for Doctor Who. John Nathan Turner sort of asked him to do that. So yeah, I'd give The Visitation a 9 out of 10. I really do enjoy this one. It's just a really all-round good sort of story. I mean, my major criticisms are maybe Tegan's pretty naff, as is Adric, really. You know, I as a fan of the Sonic, I do kind of not like the fact that they got rid of it, but it is nice that they kind of pay homage to the Sonic and are like, oh, you've kind of killed an old friend of mine, you know, like, and that. And, yeah, I mean, the sort of android is what it is, I suppose. He's not great, but yeah. I feel kind of bad for the guy who played the pterodactyl, the main guy, because he mainly wanted this gig because he thought it was one thing and then it was something else. So that is kind of a bit iffy. But yeah, I genuinely really like this story. It's a fun, engaging sort of runaround, for lack of a better term, you know, and Nyssa is pretty good in this. She works well with Peter Davison, and it probably helps that Peter Davison has been on record to say that had he only have had one companion, he'd have liked to have Sarah Sutton as Nyssa. So, you know, he clearly felt as an actor and an individual that she was the most developed of the three companions and the one that he had the most sort of chemistry with, and that. But yeah, a 9 out of 10 from me. Thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate and subscribe.